Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Juan's World. Normally when I cook for you, but here's the rather pitiful state of my freezer where I keep extra meat and fish and vegetables and various things, broth that I make and soups and so forth. And you can see it's getting pretty empty. On the top I've got a couple of chicken breasts and a couple of spicy sausages, half a loaf of bread, and a few dumplings, and on the bottom just some dried parsley and some old soup bones. And I'm going to make it somehow through until Saturday when I can get to the supermarket. I think I'll be all right. In the fridge I've made a cottage pie, and it's in there with some ham and some eggs and so forth. But I thought that what I'd talk about today, since I can't really do any cooking for you, is giving things up. Not for Lent, but giving things up because you have to, as in my case, because I'm in lockdown. So let's move along on that journey. So I'm entering my second week of lockdown. It's going to finish on Saturday morning, so I've got one more video for you on Friday, and then on Saturday I've got an awful lot to do. I've got to renew my visa, which is due at the end of the month. Got to get some money because I've got to pay the rent and utility bill, and I got to get food. As you saw from my freezer, I'm getting pretty low. I'll make it to Friday with no problem. I've still got eggs, I've got some cheese, I've got chicken, and I've still got the cottage pie which I made yesterday, and I haven't even touched that. That will be tomorrow's and Wednesday's meal. I've got one plum left, one tomato, half a stalk of a leek, half an onion. I mean, it's all pretty paltry. And I've managed so far fairly well. I'm a reasonably good cook. I can invent things and manage. It's not the best. You know, I would like to have more fresh fruit. I'd like to have things that I normally rely on. But what I'm thinking is that this lockdown gives me the opportunity to become self-reliant, to not rely on others, and to not even rely on the things that I normally rely on. And it reminds me of Ralph Waldo Emerson's famous essay, Self-Reliance. Now, in that essay, he's really talking about technology more than anything else. By technology, we mean tools, the things that we use to enhance our various abilities physically. Like any tool that you can think of is actually enhancing what you can do with your body. So for example, my glasses we can consider a tool because they allow me to see things that my eyes can't see anymore because I'm old, and the lenses are starting to harden and they won't bend the way they used to when I was young. A telescope is a tool because it allows you to see farther. But so is a television or a telephone which allows you to extend your voice over greater distances than you can shout, and so on and so forth. You can think of every tool that you use as an enhancement of your body. A knife aids your teeth, and so forth. And camera, that's interesting. The camera is actually an extension of your memory, that you can remember things and remember them permanently, both visually, and in this case a video camera, it's physically recording and remembering your voice, your thoughts, and your physical actions. So what happens when you don't have that technology? Well, here's where Emerson comes in. What Emerson says is that as we increase our technology, as we increase the things that we are capable of doing, there is a commensurate loss of the ability to do them with our bodies. So, you know, in some cases, that's probably a good thing. I mean, the fact that I have a knife and I don't have to, like, bite things to break them up is probably a good thing over time, because I'd have no teeth at this point. But he suggested that, for example, when we have navigational tools, and I'm thinking now perhaps of GPS, you know, I rely very much on GPS, especially when I'm in a town or a place I don't know and I want to get back to where I'm supposed to be. I frequently plug in the coordinates into my GPS and it says, okay, go right, now go left, and I get back to where I'm supposed to be. And what Emerson says is that when you rely on technology like that, you lose the ability that you had before to do it without that technology. Well, as it happens, my sense of direction was never very good, so there wasn't a whole lot that I could lose. But I lost the whole ability to find my way back to where I should be, which I had. I mean, it took some effort. Sometimes I had to stop and ask somebody, or look at a map, or something like that. But I don't have that ability so much anymore. I mean, I can still read maps, I can still ask people, but I've now become dependent on the technology. And he's saying that, for example, old navigational tools replaced navigating by the stars. When people had to navigate by the stars, they had to know the stars. They had to know, like, for example, where the North Star is and where to find it. And they don't have to do that anymore. Most of the people that I know don't know their way around the sky at all. They can't find much of anything. In the United States, they can find what they call the Big Dipper, what they call the plough in England, and maybe they can find Orion, maybe. But they can't find too many stars in the sky because they don't have to. When you don't have to rely on navigation by stars, you forget how to locate the stars. And in terms of my lockdown, I suppose that's also something, certainly something I'm thinking about. But the way I'm thinking about it is that the lack of ability to just run out to the store whenever I need something, when I want to make kokaliki soup, just run down and get some leeks. I have to be more creative. So the way I'm thinking about this lockdown is that it should be my opportunity. It's my opportunity to be more creative, more imaginative. I can't go and teach, So this morning I made a video for my students so that they can still see me lecturing, even though I can't go to my college. I can use Zoom to some extent, although I tend not to. But I'm also finding that in my spare moments I can do more reading. In particular, I found a text that I bought quite some time ago. It's online. It's not a physical book, but it's still a book. It's a book about race relations and anthropology. And it's actually a very interesting book about how even if you are liberal and anti-racist, you still may end up with contradictions in your racial rhetoric. And so I'm reading that and quite enjoying it. And in the days before the lockdown, I had the book and I just never read it because something else always got in the way. Well, now there's not much in the way. I'm editing a manuscript with a colleague in the United States, but she doesn't work on the weekends, and it's Monday here, but it's still Sunday where she is. She's not working, so I can't collaborate with her. I mean, it's not a physical collaboration. She works when I'm sleeping, then I get up and I see what she's done and I work with that, and then I go to bed. And so it's what in the old days in England they would call a Cox and Box situation, based on an operetta written by Gilbert and Sullivan called Cox and Box, where there's a man called Cox and a man called Box, and they both rent the same room, but one of them works at night and sleeps during the day, and one works in the day and sleeps at night. So they never meet, but they're always wondering what's happening in their room, because the other one is doing something they don't know about each other. And so it's called a Cox and Box situation. Well, right now my collaborator and I are in a Cox and Box situation, but on Mondays I've got nothing to do. So I've been reading this text on race and anthropology, and it's really quite useful for other things that I'm writing. So the point that I'm trying to make is that we should never think of enforced deprivation or isolation as some kind of punishment. Instead, we should think of it as an opportunity. It's a chance to do the kinds of things that we normally wouldn't do. And the test comes in terms of your creativity and your imagination. What would you like to do? Now, this harkens back to some videos that I was making well over a year ago on vocation. If any of you can remember those videos, I was talking about the things that you have a passion for. Well, what do you have a passion for? And what is it that even in lockdown you're not doing, even though you have a passion for it? Well, I can understand if you have a passion for traveling. That's not going to work. I can't go anywhere. Can't even get a vaccine. Can't even get out of my street, so that's not going to work. But there's, even with that restriction, there's still things that I could do in relation to travel. I could still be looking for opportunities, looking for things that I can do, that I can plan for when I am able to get out. Just as I've already got a list, checking it twice, a very long list of things I need to do on Saturday. I need to go to the supermarket, number one, because I've got to replace all the things I've used up, and that's a very long list. I've got to go and renew my visa. I've got to go to the bank to get money. I've got to check in with my dentist. I've got to get some spare medications. It's going to be a very long day. I can plan that now, even though I can't get out until Saturday. I can also plan travel thinking more in terms of the very tail end of the year, because I don't think I'm going to be able to go anywhere much until I'm vaccinated, until the airlines are more open, until countries are more open. I do have a conference I need to go to in the United States at the end of November. Or when I say I need to, I don't need to do anything, but it's something that would be extremely useful for me professionally. And so I can plan that. There's a host of things I can do even in isolation. I can think about my passions, I can think about my vocation. That doesn't change. What changes is your temperament. And I remember thinking way back when this all started, like 2 Saturdays ago, I remember being really despondent, just kind of sitting around in my apartment thinking, what am I going to do for the next 2 weeks? This is terrible. And just, we've got a storm in the making here. The monsoon season's cranking up early. In my isolation, I'm still doing the same things that I did when I wasn't isolated. I'm still writing, I'm still making videos, I'm still cooking, I'm still doing all those things. The despondency came because I had a foreboding, if you like, a sense like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do the things that I normally do. Well, I got over it very quickly, I'm glad to say, because there's not a whole lot of deprivation here. I mean, yeah, I don't have all the fruits and vegetables I might like, but I have enough. I'm well fed. I actually sleep better than I normally sleep. I'm doing a lot of cleaning. Seeing pockets of the apartment that haven't been cleaned in a long time. I'm doing that. So every time we're faced with a problem, one of the ways to think about it is, what is the opportunity? What can I do here to make not just the best of this, but what can I turn it around from something negative into something positive? That's what I'm trying to do. And that's why I'm making this video. So I know you can't respond, you can't say what you think, because I don't have any comments, but I hope that you appreciate the idea, and maybe it gives you some inspiration in your own lockdown, in your own isolation. And I will wish you the best, ask you to tell your friends to like and subscribe, and I will see you on Friday.